Oh, girl. So I know we're supposed to talk about Tanashi.
Okay.
How do you say her name? Tanashi or Tinashe? You say
I think
Tinashe.
it's Tinashe. That's how I've
Yeah.
always heard it.
She's French, Tinashe. I have a nerve. I have an apostrophe in my name. But I actually
Literally, like, thank you for dragging yourself.
listen. I didn't do it. Blame my mama. Blame the '80s. Blame Black people in the '80s. Right? Everyone has a fucking apostrophe in the name. But I just want to speak what's on my heart.
Mm.
Oh God, I so many emotional things. This guy Gavin Creel, who was a
Mm.
Broadway actor.
Who he passed away. I
I was
just saw
so
that.
obsessed with this man. I was so like, I have a
Mm.
huge crush on him. Not only romantically, I've never met him in person. He
Yeah.
came to Michigan to this musical theater class I was taking and spoke. And it was the first
Mm.
time I met this person. I was like, I'm in love. I'm totally in love. But also, when you
Yeah.
hear this man's voice, it's like his voice is insane,
Yeah.
beautiful. Like I just saw his show earlier this summer, right? On fucking
And he
off
was so
Broadway.
young. He's only
48.
48.
He's 7 years older than us, right? He
Yeah.
found out he had class. He found out he had this like sarcoma. Is it the
Yeah.
cancer? This really
Yeah.
aggressive version of sarcoma in July. July, and
What?
he died
What?
today.
Oh
Like
my
I was in
God.
class and when my students said it, and I was like had to like frazzle and like fucking keep it together, but like it wrecks my whole fucking day.
Oh
I'm have
man.
to do something. So I just want to say that I also like had my last therapy session with my therapist today because I have to
You
give new
are
therapy.
going through it.
So
But you
I'm just
know
trying to
what?
meet me where I'm at, yo.
Well, you know what? I'm proud of you. One, for like giving voice to your feelings, because I know when I talk about me having a hard time, that's when the tears start. I can't talk
Girl.
about having a challenge. I start crying. But you know what? I am really proud of you because you've been doing the work to manage your emotions, give space to them, feel your feelings, but still get your shit done. And
Yes.
that's adulthood.
Well, because like the feelings are going to be there, right? They're
Mhm.
going to manifest in some way. I guarantee. That's why I talked to my
Mhm.
that therapist. They're going to manifest in some way. This woman in my class today, she was doing her work and like we're giving her feedback, and she was clearly like upset. And I
Yeah.
was like, give her some feedback, but also some good like encouragement. And she broke down. I was like, no, it's okay to cry. Let it
Yeah.
out. If you
Yeah.
why would you stifle the thing? Let it out.
Because
Because
listen, if
talk
you
about
try to
it.
stifle it down,
Talk about it.
it's gonna come out
You
at
know
some
what?
point.
Fran's ordering some cookies. She's
It's gonna come out, and it will not be a convenient time.
that part, right? So I just wanted to put that on the pod because distracting myself and pretending like it's not happening is going to
Mm,
make when we get off mic even worse. So that's where I'm at.
yeah. Oh my
Thank you for
God. Well,
meeting
we're
me there.
holding space for Gavin and his family.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy.
Ooh, wait. No.
Listen. Listen.
Listen.
Listen. Wait.
I hate you for that.
Let me fix it.
Hello and welcome back to Let Me Fix It, the podcast that says, I'm sorry, so sorry. I'm DeLon Grant. I'm an actor, singer, photographer, a writer, and an educator.
And I'm Francesca Ramsey. I'm an actress, a producer, a writer, and graphic designer. Now, class, if you've heard me sing it once, you've heard me sing it 1,000 times. Instead of an empty apology, write a check. I also do take Venmo and Cash App because I'm a 21st century girly. Who is writing checks in 2024? Honestly.
Who has a check? Ready?
And if you have one, I love that for you. And if you've tuned in to Let Me Fix It last season, which we know that you have, you'll remember that Delon and I had 2 whole ass episodes where we unpacked apology. You'll remember that Delon and I had 2 whole ass episodes where we unpacked apologies, empty ones, bad ones, and even some fabulous ones. So you might be thinking to yourself, a la Jerry Seinfeld, why the obsession with apologies?
Really good, Jerry. I knew you would do it good. I knew you would do it justice.
Delon, I just gotta say, you wrote the fuck out of this episode.
Oh,
Because I
thank
was
you.
like, not a 21st century girly. That is something that I say. And then you threw in an impression.
Yo, I know my girl.
You really do. So listen, the thing is that we have realized that apologizing is truly an art form.
Right, and some of y'all can't draw. Ready? Okay.
Can't do a straight line to save your life.
Okay. A to B.
And you got a ruler. So I'm drawing on the ceiling.
Drawing an isosceles triangle. I don't even know what that means. But as we said in those episodes last season, Fran, an apology requires more than an I'm sorry, right? For my money, time, and attention, I need recognition plus action, right? Like you said, you write a check. The check is the restitution, but I need the recognition of the harm done and the pain that was inflicted, and then change behavior and then writing a check. That's accountability. I feel like true accountability also just gets eclipsed by our rush to get past the awkward feelings of I fucked up or you're mad at me. When like true accountability should be focused on the other person. I hurt you.
Oh, 1000%. And I would also just add, y'all learned the word accountability last month, and now you say the word, I take full accountability. That's not how it works. Just
Totally.
saying the word is not accountability. And here's the thing, class. We are not exempt, okay?
Yo.
Everybody makes mistakes. Last season, we did have to extend an apology for accidentally misgendering someone. And, I think the reason that we wanted to do it in such a public way is to prove it's not the end of the world. It's possible. You can make a mistake. You can move forward. You can make amends. We are human too. And since humans have been apologizing since we were cave people, Delon and I would like to turn back the clock and re-examine some apologies of the past or lack thereof, and see what we can do to learn and then try to answer some deeper questions about apologies. So let's dive in. This is Historical Apologies. Let me fix it.
Okay, Fran, so just to start us off, I want you to hop in my Wayback Machine. I'm taking you all the way back to 1697, okay?
No, thank you. I wanted to stay here.
Rich, wait, I can hear the change from here, okay?
No, I think I'm good. If you want to go to 1697.
She said, I'll be right here with you. I'll be right here waiting for you, okay? That is hilarious. But wait, do you remember like the Salem witch trials, Goody Proctor and Tituba from Arthur Miller's play The Crucible?
Yes, because don't you remember that I name checked Tituba in a Let Me Fix It episode?
Did you really?
You don't remember? I was talking about, I think it was when Nicole Byer was on the podcast and we were talking about something about would you be considered a witch? And I was like, Tituba, I know she did it. And you screamed. You were like, I pulled that name out of the recesses of my brain.
I do remember. Yo, that was a really good reference, though. That's why that shit was funny, because it's so fucking specific. But
yes, because I know, because here's the thing. Not only was that play phenomenal, and I watched, there was a movie.
It was a movie, yeah.
What was the movie called?
The Crucible. I think it was called The Crucible.
It was called The Crucible, correct. And oh my God, what is her name? My brain is braining. Winona Ryder was in that movie. And it was a great movie. Yeah. And I remember our conversation along the lines of, I would absolutely get pegged as a witch. I mean, honestly, I would also take it as a compliment, but I also would get pegged as one.
I mean, right. The woman who loves the craft. And I mean, Halloween is upon us. I cannot wait to watch. What's the Halloween movie with Bette Midler? I say, it's the pie, up and baby, up and die.
And Sarah Jessica Parker is in it. Didn't they make a remake of that movie?
Oh, I think they did. What is the name of this movie? Witches? No. Well, class, let us know.
Hocus Pocus.
Come on, recesses. She found it. Thank you so much.
Weed, you're not going to get the best of me.
Wait, because it is. Yo. Every time a memory lapse, I go, it's the weed.
It's the weed.
Listen, sometimes it helps the anxiety, gets me through.
Yeah.
But did you know Tituba was a real ass person?
I believe
Tituba was a real ass slave that a preacher owned, some priest owned. So, class, just as y'all are coming back with us to 1697, some of y'all are going to fare better than Fran and I. But the Salem witch trials happened in Salem, Massachusetts, from February 1692, he's dyslexic, through April 1693. At least 25 people were killed. Fran, do you know how these people were murdered?
Oh, I mean, isn't it like, I mean, it was pretty brutal. Weren't they
Brutal.
hanging people?
Oh my God.
Or no,
I
or
thought.
burning them at the stake
No,
for
I thought
sure.
I really anticipated that you were going to say that they burned them first. We, in the United States, we hung them.
I
In
think I
Europe
knew
is
that.
where they burned them. The Europeans were a little
Oh,
more harsh than we were.
okay. They said put a little another shrimp on the bobby.
Okay. They said meat is meat, you know. Um,
Awful.
so the state of Massachusetts didn't offer an official apology to the victims and their families, class, until 1957,
No.
265 years after the crime. But here's the fucking gag.
Mm.
5 years after the trials, the judge who presided over the trials, Judge Samuel Sewell, will go on to recant the guilty verdicts and ask for forgiveness, as well as several of the jurors who charged these people.
Okay. Meanwhile, everybody is dead.
Dead!
Okay. Oops. Sorry, guys. Like, what? You had 25 people killed.
It's crazy, and I mean it's asinine that you were like, oh, now I need to repent. Now what are you talking about? So what's the fix for this, right? We're in 1697. 25 people have been wrongly executed 5 years ago. The judge and jurors who ostensibly had these people killed said, my fault, witches ain't real after all. What's the restitution, right?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that Tituba is a real person. Where are Tituba's kin? Where they
Yeah.
at? I want
Yo.
free college for all of them.
Listen, I might be one, okay?
No,
Forget my loans.
You do give Tituba. I see it.
I see a little Tituba in that brow.
You got a little Tituba, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, look, again, I'm gonna probably be a broken record here, but money doesn't fix everything, but it fixes a lot of things. And especially,
Right.
going back to that judge and the jurors, 5 years after all those people died, there were family members living and breathing within eyesight of them that could have benefited from some funds.
Right.
It's I've heard some theories about why people thought witches were alive during this time. Have you heard any of these theories?
I have heard a few, but go ahead, tell me yours.
So one of the theories that I heard that I think makes sense is, at the time there was no electricity. So they were using like lamps in the homes that were using like oils and stuff, and people were tripping.
Oh my God.
They were having hallucinations and sounds and shit because they're in enclosed spaces with these kerosene
With, like,
lamps.
gas.
With gas. Y'all were high. And that's why you heard all these weird noises and shit. And then sprinkle in a little bit of sexism and racism in there. And then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, she's a witch.
Right. I also read an article, or I read one of these theories that, so at the time, I think it was King Philip was presided over, the continental United States, or the colonies, as it were. And there were all these wars to put down whomever, right? Humans and war, shock, right? But there were all of these orphans and basically refugees that would go to Salem because it was such a big colony. And so all these people had this trauma, children in particular. So there are a lot of children who were accusing people of being witches, but they just had psychological trauma that was exploited. And they were saying that was one of the reasons, because as in The Crucible with Arthur Miller, it's a lot of kids being like, oh no, she's a witch, and getting on the bandwagon, right? I thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, because the way that we talk about trauma now, we know that it presents itself in all sorts of ways. You might have insomnia, you might be hearing voices, you might be having hallucinations. I mean, and especially as a child, children's imaginations are so vivid.
Yes.
It's hard oftentimes, the body kind of almost is doing these protective measures to keep you safe. And so it makes sense that they, again, I think it's also probably the thing of you've gone through this much trauma, and now a bunch of adults are listening to you and paying attention to you and being like, hey, are you okay? Of course you're going to tell them whatever you think that they want to hear.
Right. There's also, I'm sorry, you, just quickly, there's a little delay. Did you read that? I didn't.
No, should we mention? No. Okay. So do you want to, okay, I'll do this part.
Okay, great.
We should also mention this class. The colony of Massachusetts did start quietly paying compensation to the families of the victims. So, to be fair, they did end up writing a check.
Glad they did. But you know who they didn't write a check for, like we said, Tituba.
Of
Okay, Tituba's
course.
black ass was still slaving somewhere.
Hmm.
You know what's really crazy to me though? There's a part of me, friend, that feels like an eye for an eye. It's that very
Hmm.
primitive, unresolved, kind of unevolved truth coming through. But I kind of feel like if the punishment isn't going to fit the crime, then let's give the punishment of the time. So here's my fix. I want the judge and them to do a Cersei Lannister walk of shame. You remember this from Game of Thrones?
Yes, I love it.
So, class, if you don't know, if you didn't watch Game of Thrones, it's still up there for you. You ain't got to watch it, but we'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So, a very hated character on Game of Thrones was Cersei Lannister. She is forced to do a naked walk of shame through this town where people are yelling at her, spitting on her.
Shame. They're ringing a bell as she walks around the town naked.
They cut her hair off.
Oh, God.
I was like, that's what should have happened to that judge in them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for a public shaming. It does feel like a huge oversight to just say sorry. And again, this is that thing that we keep talking about. You got to repair the harm.
Thank you.
People were killed over this shit.
Life's gone.
And we can't get it back.
Right?
All right, moving on. Delon, did you know that the United States formally apologized? Moving on, Delon, did you know that the United States formally apologized to Japanese Americans that they forced into internment camps in 1988? They
I did
actually
not.
gave them $20,000 in restitution, which I am here for. Honestly,
Yes.
it's pennies. Let's be honest.
Totally.
$20,000 is not a
listen, inflation, maybe it was more in 1988. Doubtful, though. Doubtful.
Yes, maybe it was more, but it still feels very low.
Yes.
It feels
For
very
years
low.
of internment? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, class, it would not be until 2008 that the United States would apologize for slavery. Okay, Uncle Sam, where to check at? Where to check at?
Well, listen, I'm going to keep rubbing this in your face because Joe Biden did forgive your loans, girl. Okay?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, but that's not my ancestral wound. Okay, that's
heard.
That's
heard.
my
The trauma's
education.
still popping up. Right.
Exactly,
Right.
that's my educational wound. You don't need to go back.
Oh, right. I need today to be fixed, right?
Yes.
I do feel like education should be free, though. Like an advanced degree is a prerequisite for getting a job in our culture, and that can get you into another tax bracket. All of this is like known, right? So I'm not speaking anything that's profound here, but it should be as free as, I don't know, breathing. you know?
Yeah.
Like if we're talking about capitalism, we live in a capitalist society, right? The reparations for black folks, though, should be property, in my opinion. If we're talking about slavery and reparations, give me my $20,000, but where's the 40 acres in the MU? Where's the acre? I'll take an acre right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your earlier point about education and kind of what I said during the Salem witch trials, I think if you are a descendant of enslaved people in this country, you should get free college. It should just be
at minimum. At minimum.
It should be offered to you for free. But something else that I think would be really interesting, have you ever seen that PBS show Finding Your Roots? Where they actually
with Henry Louis Gates, yeah.
Yes, and they go back and trace your genealogy.
Yeah.
I think if you make over a certain amount of money in this country, you should automatically get a little Finding Your Roots situation. And if your people own some slaves, there should just be a little amount that gets taken out of your check.
You know what it is? It's a slave tax. That's what we're gonna call it.
It's 3/5 of your paycheck.
You know what? Ben Affleck's gonna be mad because Ben Affleck tried to hide the fact that his people own slaves.
He was so pissed when he did that show that he tried to ask them to change the shit around. But I really think, because the thing is like whenever you have these conversations, and I'm sure you've had this before, whenever you talk about our country's history, so many people are like, my family never owned slaves.
Girl.
You never been a slave. I'm like, no, pull up the 23andMe. I want to see.
Yeah.
You're gonna say that and you know what? If it's not you, it's not you, but it's your neighbor, it's your, you know what I mean, your daddy's accountant. A number of y'all have benefited from the institution, maybe not directly from your family, but the Vanderbilts. There are all of these families that have so much money and they wouldn't even notice that something was taken out of their check, and it
Right.
could go straight back into the community. It doesn't have to go into our pockets, but like put that money into a school. You build a
Right.
private school in this neighborhood, you should have to build a school in this black neighborhood or this low
Right.
income neighborhood. It needs to be like a one for one program.
Well, and I want to like to those people who are like, well, my family didn't own slaves. Okay, great. But there's a systemic thing beyond
Right.
slavery that continued, right? Not to get too in the weeds in that, but like that was pervasive in our country. And so
Mm-hmm.
people who were able to get home loans early on, like in the post World War II era,
Mm-hmm.
where they were not given to black folks or they were given to black folks in certain areas. And now your family has benefited from generational wealth. And you're like, well,
Yes.
we're middle class. But when your grandparents died, did you have a little nest egg when you sold their house or from their benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have that same thing, and that's
Yeah.
and I know some a poorer white person or might say the same thing. But the point
Yeah, but
is,
it's not apples. It's not
it,
apples to apples, right?
yeah, it's not the same thing.
I used this analogy on Decoded, and it's one of my favorites. But I know you haven't seen the show Sopranos. This is not a spoiler. But Tony Soprano is a mob boss, and he has killed lots of people, and he has committed many crimes. Now, his wife Carmela has not committed any crimes, but she lives in a big ass house,
Right.
and she drives a nice new car, and she
Right.
gets her hair and her nails done, and she gets to reap the benefits of his criminal activity
Right.
while looking the other way, right? And like privilege operates in that same way where it's like you directly did not do the crimes, right? You did not own slaves, or even your families didn't. But to your point, Alon, you got to benefit from the Jim Crow laws that
Yes.
prohibited Black people from living in certain areas and owning property and getting an education and learning how to read, right? Like you were able to get ahead because we were being held back. And
Right.
so it is so frustrating when you try to have those conversations with people because they get so hung up on, well, I didn't do anything. Well, my family came here, and it's like, yes, they got the choice to come here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You got a little stamp on your passport. You got to write your name at Ellis Island.
And why did they want to come here? Because it was a rich country. And who built that rich country?
And who made it rich?
Agriculture. And whose hands, right? Like, do the math. Like, track back the history. I also want to say, it wouldn't be a continuous conversation. It would be less of a continuous conversation if, it didn't take to 2008 to have a formal apology from the House of Representatives in the United States. It would be less of a conversation if we were given $20,000 or something, anything.
They don't even want to acknowledge it in a fucking textbooks. They want to call enslaved people.
Are you serious?
What was that?
That was some a U-Haul truck carrying somebody.
Oh, I
Damn.
thought it sounded like a horse and buggy.
Are we back in Salem? I am in Massachusetts.
Literally.
Crazy.
I was going to say, to your point about like, yes, it took 2008. I mean, look, as a Florida girl, Ron DeSantis has stripped away African American studies from colleges.
Yo.
He's taken AP African American history out of schools. There's a number of school books that call enslaved people workers or African immigrants.
It's erasure is what it is. Like, it's erasure.
Yeah. So then it's like when you try to have these conversations, not that it's an excuse, but like it's like you're trying to ask people to do calculus and they haven't done like the basic math. Like, how can we get you to connect the institution of slavery with the world that we live in today if you won't even acknowledge that it happened?
We can't have an honest conversation. We're not having an honest, like, earnest conversation, right? We're not showing up in good faith on this.
No.
It's like pointing fingers, and I think that's one of the big problems. Let's zoom out here for a second, because I think there's some like other conversations around apologies that you and I have not explored that are a little deeper.
Yeah.
is it ever too late to apologize for something, right? It took the United States damn near 150 years to apologize for enslaving people. Fran, is it ever too late to apologize? Too late to
Yeah,
apologize.
I mean, I'm of the mind better late than never, but
Mm,
I will also add that like it's really up to the person that was harmed to decide
yeah, truly.
if the timing is right, because there are some hurts that are so big that even if you do get an apology, you just don't ever recover from.
Yeah.
But there are also some people that are not able to find closure, and
Mm,
they carry that with them forever, whatever it might be. And so some acknowledgement does something. It doesn't
right.
erase the hurt. It doesn't, you can't go back in time. But, and then again, there are also some people that are like, you hurt me. I never want to speak to you again, which is
Right.
also valid.
Right. And I think a part of the healing process over a harm done too is healing yourself. I've had to do a lot
Mm,
of that, like adjacent to, we're going to talk about family members in a minute, but like adjacent to something somebody did to you that you'll never get acknowledgement, you'll
yeah.
never get an apology. So you have to go, you know what? I just accept it and I'm going to do my best to heal me and figure out ways to get over it if I can, right? It's always going to be a sore spot. There might
Yeah.
be a scab there. Don't pick at it, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, there's some ways you just have to like heal yourself, you know?
Okay, this is something that I want to unpack. What if you never get that apology? And this is kind of related to your thing about healing yourself. If it's from a family member, somebody that you have to engage with all the time,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be at the holidays or,
Yes.
there's health stuff or, God forbid, we've been having some natural disasters. People don't got
Ooh,
places to live.
ooh.
What if you have to move back in with a family member and you are carrying hurt that they've done to you? How do you move on?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely complicated. I mean, back to what I said just before, do your best to heal, but also like family's obligatory, but it don't have to be. You
Hello.
can really say like, you know what? I know we share DNA, but I don't want or need you in my life, right?
Yeah.
If we can't really get past it, if it's insurmountable, then like it's a wrap. It's okay. That is okay.
Yeah.
You know why? Because like as sad as that is, I'll speak for myself. I have you, who I consider
Mhm.
very much family, very much a sister. I have a lot of chosen family. And forgive me, class, if you don't have chosen family, I don't mean to diminish that, but there are options, right?
Yeah.
I'm really okay with being, if we have a rupture and we're unable to repair it, then that it's okay with it being a wrap. I have to mend that. What would you
Yeah.
say in terms of
Yeah, I
family
mean,
member?
I co-sign everything that you said there, and I'm trying to hold space for the fact that there are some people, again, especially when it comes to like challenging financial situations, where they're like,
Yeah.
I cannot literally afford to
Oof.
not have this person in my life. And I think that it's kind of a matter of like compartmentalizing, where you
Hmm.
acknowledge like this person is who they are, and there are certain things I don't talk to them about. I come
Mm.
home, I say hello, I go to the fridge, I get my to go plate, and I go to my room and I go to bed, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, yes,
Yeah.
you are my family, but we don't have to be besties. I don't have to tell you everything.
I don't have to
I
like
have
you.
I don't have to like you, and I'm working to put a plan in place to get out of here. Like the
Mm-hmm.
clock is ticking, and like whatever you
Right.
got to do, you got to get that dry erase board, and you got to put the day every single day. You got to change the day. How many days you have
You better
left?
get a friend's calendar tracker. What'd you say, a habit tracker? You better go get that habit tracker from
Okay.
Francesca.net.
Oh my, I love you so much. You are so funny. But I mean, it really, I am of the mind as somebody who's been like a prolific journaler. And when I look back on
Mm.
my journals, it is truly mind blowing how many things I manifested just by putting pen to paper. I
Wow.
am of the mind that you can do that with any element of your life, and that there is something about just like physically writing down, like, this is the thing
Yes.
that I want. This is what, just seeing it on your, on your mirror, on your bulletin board, in your planner, on your phone, whatever it might be.
Yes.
That, like, to your point, yes, we share DNA, and at this moment we are in the same house, or we're on the same cell phone plan, or whatever it might be, but we not going to be this way forever.
But
If
today and
that's
forever, yes.
right. And I will also add, I have some family members. I have an uncle that passed away recently, and
Oh,
he
I'm
and
sorry. I know.
no, thank you very much. And he had a strained relationship with a number of people in my family, and that doesn't mean that he, is absolved of his bad behavior. But as he got older and his health started deteriorating, you know what he did? He was making some calls. He said, I see the light. I gotta wrap some shit up. And I have family members who were genuinely shocked. And to your point about, is it too late to apologize? There were people in my family who did not realize, I really needed this apology.
Oh, wow.
And they had already decided they were never going to get it. They were never going to get it. And I think it's an important reminder. And I just had this conversation with another friend who had, a father who had done some really terrible things. And she said her being able to forgive him and release without even getting an acknowledgement from him, like took a weight off of her shoulders.
Wow.
And so I think it's, in the moment, it can be really hard to see the forest from the trees.
For sure.
And you're like, I hate this person. And again, all those feelings are valid, but you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years. You really might be like, I don't see it for you, but I'm doing way better. Or you might get a phone call one day and they say, I'm really sorry. And you realize, holy shit, I really needed that.
You know what's crazy is that my dad listens to the pod every now and again, because at one point, because we've I have like a class. I have a strange relationship with him. We really don't talk that much, but over the last few years, I think age and maturity and things, he's really.
Because didn't he hit you up on Facebook?
Yeah, several times, a lot. Well, and to his credit, for years he didn't show up. For years he didn't show up. But let me just say, because at one point he was like, "Oh, you dragged me on the podcast," because he listened. And I was like, "I did."
Oh,
and he might listen again and say I dragged him again.
But you know what? Shout out to him. Self-awareness.
Well, and also I want to give him credit for, on the back end for showing up, right? Because he texts me all the time. He'll text me once a week. Hey, I hope you have a great week. How are you doing? Right? And it slowly chipped away at the steely kind of rock that I had around my heart where he was, right? Because for him not showing up, I'd healed. I've been like, well, you just don't show up. You're somebody in my life who I'm not giving much attention to. I hope you're well. I let go and let God,
Yeah.
But the way he chipped away at it and kept showing up and keeps texting. The other day, I randomly texted him. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. And to your point and my point, you can heal on your own, but you can also heal together. Who knows where me and my dad are going to go? Who knows? But I really respect his tenacity and his showing up, because that's the restitution, right? Taking that time to be away at it. So I really do. I give you props, Brian Archibald. Okay.
Oh my! Honestly, Delon, that makes me so happy to hear, because I know that has been a long time coming, and we don't give out cookies around here.
Yo.
But I'm gonna say you get a little one, half a cookie.
Francis, I got some. I got some Pillsbury I'll cut up for you. I ain't putting no flour and sugar in nothing. But I'll cut some.
It's the pre-cut rolls. We're not actually, rolling up our sleeves or anything around here.
Right. Friend, you mentioned your journals, and you mentioned them on the pod before. And so I think that's a good segue to talk about. Are there things that you think you should, ways in which you've apologized to yourself? Have you ever had to apologize to yourself?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, I really think looking through my journals has been so eye-opening, because man, the way that I would talk to myself was just so awful. I was just so critical of myself. But I would also say probably the biggest moment for me was going through my divorce, and just the mourning period, and also kind of feeling embarrassed and disappointed in myself, and you know, again, hardest moment in recent memory, but like the right moment. And I have no regrets in that respect. But like while I was going through it, I was being really, really hard on myself and doing the thing of like playing back the tape of like, this
Girl.
is the moment when things were
Mm-hmm.
going bad. And if I had done X, Y, and Z, and at this moment was the moment that I knew that I should have, da, 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
da. And it's like, so unfair to yourself
Yeah.
and giving yourself the grace of, you know what? I did what I thought was right in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is thinking when you get married, okay, unless you are rich and or this is your, you know, you've been married
Seventh.
before. Exactly.
Right.
Unless you have those two things going for you, most people, if they're getting married, they're, you know, they're doing the till death do us part, the
Right.
whole nine. And again, it was the moment of, this is part of my story. It doesn't define me. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm unlovable. It
Right.
just means that, like, I had a partnership with this person. They weren't the right person for me. And like, and now I'm at a different place. But yeah, it really took some time for me to heal from that.
Well, and look, to reflect back to you, you know, as somebody who's like who was there for all of it, and
Mm-hmm.
before and after, like you had to go through that for whatever reason, like
Yeah.
that it is what it is. But like you, if I could speak for you, you have changed as a result of it, right?
Yeah.
You learned things, and not to say that like that had to be a lesson, because that was your
Yeah.
life, and you were in love, and like you
Yeah.
know, relationship, all those kinds of things. But it really has shifted you and made you I don't know,
Gay.
how would you describe
I mean, I'm not
Just
gay,
as
but like
gay as-
I'm gayer. I'm very gay now.
way gay. She said, she's like, I'll touch a dick every now and again, but girl, the last
Truly
time I
the
did.
most embarrassing part of my personality is that I do still like men. I do.
That's so fucking funny. No, but you're I don't know. I would say like you're realized in a different way. If I could say it that
Aw.
way. You're realized in a different way, and like you came through that crucible, if I could harken back to that. You came
Yes.
through that crucible and you're better for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. What about you? Have you had to apologize to yourself for anything?
Well, I feel like you can drag me a little bit on this one. I do feel like I need to apologize for myself, or I have apologized for myself for not being myself, right? And this kind of
Mm.
tethers to me doing things I don't really want to do, saying yes to things
Yeah.
I don't want to do, and I know you'll relate to this one, not leaving when I want to fucking leave. I'm getting better about that, but like you know, like you just stay past the time you wanted to be there, and you're like, oh,
Can't
this is
relate.
ridiculous.
I don't know.
She said, not me.
Not me.
Not
me.
this side.
One thing about Francesca, she will leave. I will go.
Well, you can see it on her face. You can see it well on her face before it's time for her to go.
It's so true. I have no poker face. I really, really don't. Oh, that is so funny.
You know what? Something I wonder about though.
What?
Are there instances where you think Flex should have apologized to you or should apologize to you?
I mean, I have many times that this child should apologize to me. I mean, I told you he bit me.
Girl, I'm still waiting on my apology from him biting my ass.
Well, and I was so annoyed because, you know, I gave him a glow up one episode because I had an adult sleepover and I was so proud of how he acted. Guess what? Literally last fucking weekend, he embarrassed me.
Oh no.
He embarrassed me. I had a guest and Flex would not leave the bedroom and he showed his teeth.
Was he biting you too?
He didn't bite me, but he he did the whole thing. I had to get a snack. I had to be like, "You want a snack?" And I had to
Not a bribe. Not a bribe.
literally. I said, "You want a carrot? You want a?" He loves carrots.
Wow.
Loves them. And so I had to open the fridge and be like, "There's a little carrot over here." And then suddenly, he's so dumb.
Wait. When do you have to like lock yourself in the room after
Yes.
that?
Yes, because he
Wow.
can open doors. He can open doors and
That
he
is crazy.
absolutely be like, "What y'all doing in here?"
Just
You're
open the door.
hurting her.
Just looking at you. And like the lights are out and she's just glowing in the dark, right?
He's like, I've never done that before because my little man don't got no balls, so he can't. He
Oh.
can't do. But and I'm
You
not
would
trying
think
to.
he does the way he be stepping up to people,
And you know
growling and
what?
shit.
And that's probably what it is. It's
He lost
overcompensation.
his
The
balls.
patriarchy comes for us all. He said, I have to overcompensate because I ain't got no stuff. And
Look what you
so
did to me.
I'm not trying to. First of all, he's my child. I don't need
Right.
him knowing any of that. The door is closed. It's locked. But yeah, he really embarrassed me. He really did.
Damn.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm Flex. If you can hear through, I know she's got headphones in, but I'm still
Hmm.
waiting for my apology. Okay,
I will
motherfucker.
talk to him. And you know what? If a basket shows up on your front doorstep, his mama loves a basket.
All right, tell him no carrots for me. But
Delon, who owes you an apology?
speaking of balls,
Mm.
I actually the doctor who took my foreskin.
Not you holding a 41-year-old grudge.
Literally, it is crazy, but I want an apology from the doctor who took my foreskin. Listen, like some of the blame belongs to my mother, but like I give her a pass because like she carried me for 9 months and I did a lot of crazy shit to her body.
And also it has been socially accepted that is the thing that you do when you have a little boy, and there's a whole movement to stop that from happening. I don't know if you know about that.
I do. Well, my sister, I have two nephews, and my sister had asked in the first one about it, and I was like, not inquiring to like what should she do, but she was like, oh, I'm kind of debating this thing, and I was like, I listened to her, and I was like, listen, don't do it. If he wants if he doesn't want foreskin, it's the pain. But if he doesn't want it, let him take it off when he gets old. Let it be a choice for him. But I don't mutilate my body.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anyone, well, maybe people would choose to do that later in life, but there's nothing wrong with the turtleneck. Just live your truth.
No, I love a turtleneck. I love a turtleneck. It's warmer in there. But the massages part of me labeled the doctor a man, so it may have been a woman. I can't remember who the delivery doctor was, but if it wasn't a man, he should have known better. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Friend, who owes you an apology?
Ooh, I'm gonna just say Flex. I'm gonna say Flex. I rescued him. I have given him a fantastic life. He wears little scarves now. Do you know what I mean?
Right, you do that.
I give him his own little haircuts because he bit the groomer. He has been banned from the groomer. So I get in there with those clippers. I do a lot for my child. I get his teeth cleaned.
You get them cleaned. Wait, he can't go to the groomer. Who's cleaning his teeth though?
There is a lady who will come to your apartment and will clean the dog's teeth.
Wow, and he lets her?
Well, she puts him in she sits on my floor and she like wraps her legs around him. It looks like a wrestling move.
Wow.
Truly, she is such a professional. Shout out to her because he never sees it coming. He's always happy to see her, and he's like, "Wait a second, what the fuck is happening?"
She's behind me now.
Literally, and they get in there and clean that little underbite mouth, and truly, I feel like at this point he needs to get a job. And if there's any talent
agent, light bill
agent,
at least, damn.
Literally, I'm hoping there's a talent agent listening to the pod. He does have an Instagram, OnlyFlex. And I would
and
hope
an underbite and a missing tooth. Yes.
Listen, I think he has a face that could sell lots of products, and one entity in this apartment needs to book a job. So if it's not going to be me, maybe it could be Flex. And then I think that would be a sufficient apology for the way he has tried me multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I still remember that $1,000 vet bill where he faked you out. Was there like a paw infection?
Class, this nigga started limping, and I was so worried about him. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong with his paw.
Listen, you know what? He was calling you a witch. That's what he was doing. He was like faking your ass out. He was like, "Oh, look what this witch did to my ass." No.
Oh my God.
So now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Glow Up, where we give props to those who have turned themselves around without our help. But first, let's take a quick break. And we're back. Fran, do you want to go first?
Yes. Nelly Furtado, the
Oh,
Canadian songstress, is back with her seventh studio album after a 7-year hiatus. The album is aptly titled Seven. She said, I'm not coming up with no puns.
listen, she said, if Adele can do it, I can do it, okay?
Listen, I'm not mad. So Nelly Furtado spent 4 years working on this album.
Wow.
Apparently, she wrote 400 songs. Okay.
Damn.
And she collaborated with a number of artists and singers and musicians and producers around the world. Delon, I thought it would be fun to just play a little clip.
Yes.
Um,
So you've listened to it?
yeah, you know what? Here's what happened is she came across my TikTok timeline. And I was like, what
Oh,
is this? And it was the new song. The album just came out like a few weeks ago. Okay, so
wow.
this is her single.
Interesting about this
What?
is it's giving a little Kylie Minogue, and that's actually a great
Yeah.
fix for her. Like to be an
Yeah.
older woman who's mature, who's still sexy and beautiful. Not that
Like
older
giving you
women aren't sexy.
gay club.
Gay club, the gays will come for your music if there's a hot
Mm-hmm.
beat.
You are definitely doing a bump to this.
Oh my god, my punk pop song. She looks great.
She looks fucking great. Nelly Furtado is 45 years old.
Is she only 45?
She's only 45. Listen, and
Wow.
I have a soft spot for Nelly Furtado. Like
Absolutely.
she has some bops.
Yes.
So I'm really happy. And you know what? It wouldn't be a Nelly Furtado segment without a little Nelly Furtado impression. Delon, can you do a Nelly Furtado? The
Not bad.
the face that you made really showed that you were getting there. For me, it's lay it down, lay it toque, lay it down, lay it down.
You sound like you're speaking another language. Class, you know what? She sat for at least 30 minutes practicing this impression. You know she did.
Delon, I was in my apartment belting my face off and being like, no, 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 no. There it is. There it is. It's in the mask.
It's in the
right?
mask, as they
It's
say.
in,
Yes.
it's in the
indeed.
mask, as the musical theater babes say it. Honestly,
Mhm.
the song to me, it is like a little forgettable, a little
Yeah.
safe, but she sounds good. She looks good. The song is like at the club, in H&M. I could see me in the sale rack browsing with that playing in the background.
Elevator music, right?
Yeah, it's like inoffensive. It's just kind of, it is a little one note, but I'm happy for her. There are tons of people with way less talent that have hits on the radio.
Halsey.
And Nelly is writing her music, and her
Yes.
voice is interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I would say, to your point about the Kylie Minogue of it all, I feel like Nelly has birthed some singers that kind of sound in that same nasally, baby voice era.
This isn't a good comp, but Natasha Bedingfield.
Ooh.
What was her big song?
Oh my
She has
god.
that soulful nasal thing going.
No, you know who I was thinking of? Oh my god. I was thinking of it's not Natasha Bedingfield. Hold on a second. Her name is
What is her song?
I feel like I'm literally gonna Google nasally singers. She's Australian.
Oh, Unwritten was the one.
Hold on.
Natasha Bedingfield.
Hold on.
Oh, the rest is still unwritten. Oh.
Yeah, no, that's a great song. Oh, there was another. I can't remember what this girl's name is. All right, you'll have to cut all this. But yes, there are a number of like electronica girls in that same style. And again, I'm happy for Nelly. She looks great. She sounds good, and I'm here for her glow up.
Yes, I hear that.
Delon, what's your glow up this week?
So mine is a little. I hesitate to say it, but I really, I'm I'm noticing it.
Mm.
I am not a trans person, obviously, but I feel like there's a lot more trans visibility. And
Yes.
I'll just make one reference because they've been like blasting it out. The people who are doing the press for Will Ferrell and Harper Steele's
Oh
documentary, Will and
yeah.
Harper, y'all need a fucking award because I see this
Oh
shit
yeah.
every fucking where. It's a new Netflix documentary class where Will Ferrell drives across the country with his friend Harper Steele, who was a writer on SNL when he was on the show. And Harper is a trans woman and transitioned later in life. And so they kind of just do, I don't know, a cross country trip where they're going to different spots,
Yeah.
mainly in middle America. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
watched it yet. But again,
I've heard really positive things about it, and I will also add I've heard positive things from trans people about it, which I think is
great.
important
Yes.
because when you see movies like this, and again, I haven't seen the movie either, but the framing of cis person
Yes.
understands transness because their friend, it kind of feels like it's in that same place of like a green book where like a white person needs to
Yes.
understand racism with a
Sit
black
down with
person's.
me and tell me why you're trans,
Yeah,
right?
and like that feels a little like I'm a little worried about this, but my trans friends and my community have said what they like about it is that somebody like a Will Ferrell does come across as so macho, and like his
Mm.
comedy and his movies are so like, frat broy,
Yes.
and to
Yes.
see him accept Harper, it is like, and to see him like show up for her as they go through middle America. I
Yes.
heard a lot of people, again, people I'm friends with, but also people I know online, saying that that was really refreshing and it didn't feel like infantilizing. It
Ooh,
really
yeah.
just felt more,
Fetishizing. Yeah.
yeah, or like
Yeah.
give me cookies because like now I'm getting it right,
Right.
and I
Right.
just think we need more allies to do that work.
Right. Right.
So
Well,
I
and
love that.
I also want to acknowledge too that I realize that like that's through a very white lens, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
like a white trans person, no tea, no shade, can get that kind of visibility and
And somebody who
acceptance
has money,
as
like
somebody has money, right?
Harper
Right.
worked on SNL and has
For years.
written for all sorts of like, movies and TV shows and famous people, and shout out to her. But to
Right.
your point, like her ability to transition and her
Yes.
ability to continue working to sell a movie, right?
Right.
Like there are tons of trans people who coming out endangers their life. Like,
Well, and I know you're friends with Angelica Ross, and like
Mhm.
Angelica Ross, who's like now going to be a politician, right? Is working on that part of her life, but she had a really hard time with speaking out about her own
Yeah.
political views, and I won't speak for her, but it seemed like she had a hard time with Hollywood,
Yeah.
and I don't want to chalk that up to her being black, but as a black person, I can't help but think that that had something to
Oh yeah,
do
and
with
I mean,
it.
and listen, she is very open about that. Like she talks about it a lot on her own podcast, and when she does press, talking about like the challenges of being tokenized, and like this is something that I'm really interested in. I think I told you I'm working on a pilot that's inspired by her and another trans friend of mine, and this idea of like, is there a positive way to be a token? Like when you get an
Mm,
opportunity and you realize, oh, I'm getting this opportunity because they need a black person. I'm
right.
getting this opportunity because they need a trans person. But at the same time, there's this moment of, can I do good here? Even though like they're using me, can I use them
God.
back?
I mean,
Um,
I would argue, yo, breathing and taking up space as a minority
mhm,
is radical in and of itself. It is
absolutely.
political in and of itself. So I would say, hell the fuck yes.
Oh
Use
yeah.
it and create space for other people. Just that visibility to bring it full
Mhm.
circle. That visibility is going to help somebody else, right? That like,
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I believe it's possible, but for me, what's interesting is like the internal dilemma of
heard.
like yes, it's possible, but at what
At what
cost?
cost?
Because
Yeah.
when you're the only person in the room that looks like you, it can be really hard to speak up for yourself. And I think to your point about this film, and again that I haven't seen, but based on the trailers and the reviews that I've seen, what's really beautiful is that Will Ferrell is really showing up not just as an ally, but like as an accomplice
Yeah.
for his friend to be like, I'm here put me in, coach. Like, what do you need me to do? How do I step up?
Right.
And unfortunately for marginalized people, when you're the only person in the room, a lot of times it's like, do I say anything? Is anybody going to have my back? Am I rocking the boat?
And also, what is it worth? Like,
Right.
what is it worth for me? Like, do I actually want to have the conversation with these people? I'm sure you are, friend. We are often people who are the only person of color in a room talking to a bunch of white people. And like, you do have to do that triage of like, ugh, God, do I want to bring this up? Because I'm trying
now I have
to
to
get
and literally, and now I got to manage everybody's feelings,
Girl,
and y'all are crying, and now you want to hold hands and do a circle and pass around the talking stick, and I have to go.
Right, this meeting was supposed to end 30 minutes ago. Now I gotta talk to you about racial equality and shit.
This shit could have been an email. Why are we doing
Girl,
this?
that's your next song.
Oh, I already wrote the song. I already wrote the song.
Oh,
this
damn.
call should have been an email.
Oh, you did. Yes, I forgot. My bad.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Well, listen, class, this was a fantastic conversation. What are some historic apologies that ring true to you? Because one of the ones that we didn't get into that I think we have to put onto another episode is Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Was it an actual apology though, or was it a statement?
That's the question.
To be continued.
That's the to be continued. So, class, tell us, what are some historic apologies that you cannot stop thinking about? Let us know over on Instagram at FixItPod, or email us lemmefixitpod@gmail.com. And if you would like to make a suggestion for a future episode, a TV show, a celebrity, a brand that we should fix, please let us know.
Let us know. And as you know, we do have a YouTube channel where you can see these faces. It is dirty and raw. Now the joke sticks. The joke sticks.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If you want to watch these faces, you can get us at youtube.com/@fixitpod. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give us a rating on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. I am Delon.
And I'm Francesca. And this was
Let Me Fix It!
Oh, that was great.
That was great.